There it goes. My laptop is lagging. Hello guys. Nika here with your daily neuro nugget. Some of you guys suggested I change the channel to Nika's Neuro News. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Let me know how you guys feel about that. Either way, happy Thursday. Let's get right into it. As you all know, there are over 300 documents that dropped all at once. And here we are trying to read all of them because every time we open another new document, there's some disturbing information that comes out. Very disturbing information. And I left work early because I was having lunch. I skimmed some of the documents. I'm like, I'm sorry. What in the actual fudge is going on? Here we have two documents that I'm going to be revising. And again, we have questions for Officer MOWERY because I know you guys saw the title. Okay, I'm going to be reviewing new document 153 and 155 for those of you who are interested in following along. And they're very telling, right? Whether you believe that Bryan Kohberger was involved directly or indirectly, or maybe you have some doubts, the point of us going through every single document basically on my free time is that there was so much and continues to be so much reasonable doubt throughout this case that it makes us wonder how in the world did they get to Bryan Kohberger. As I mentioned in yesterday's live, we know that Ann Taylor had been asking the state for the last 2.5 years, how did you get to my client? And they can never answer that question. And when we are looking, we are document 150. We are halfway through. There's no mention of Bryan Kohberger till after document 100 something. No mention. There are 6+ suspicious individuals. And then suddenly, as if something was dropped from the sky, Bryan Kohberger's name appears. And I think I found the problem. I think I found the legal issue. I think I found why the state was never wanting to disclose how they got to Bryan Kohberger. And it's because in supplemental narrative number 153, they talk about Google. And if you are new here, make sure that you are liking the videos. If you're not new here, make sure that you're hitting the like button. Again, I don't ask for super chats. I don't ask for money. I do appreciate them. But I do ask that you guys make sure that you are subscribed. A lot of you have told me you are getting unsubscribed. Some of you have told me that you are not getting these live notifications. So make sure that you're doing that. Make sure that you're commenting in the algorithm. Because again, these are pretty time consuming I'm a regular person, regular job, regular family, bills. This is something we do out of the kindness of our heart because we know that there's something fucked up with this case and it's very possible that we have an innocent man in jail. So give it a like, please. Now, Google search terms. This is very concerning. If you're taking notes, great. If you have never taken notes, this is the time to do it. I'm telling you, whether you're taking notes in a laptop or a piece of paper or whatever. I know some of you guys reached out to me and you said you're planning to reach out to the DOJ. Great, good for you. But I, as a true crime YouTuber, a crime sleuth, I can't tell you to do that, right? So do what you will. These are my theories, opinions, and for entertainment purposes only. So on November 26, 2022, this, by the way, was typed up by Officer MOWERY. I applied for and was granted a warrant to serve on Google for information on accounts searching the following search terms for August 1st, 2022 to November 13, 2022. So it's MOWERY writing to Google saying, you need to tell me what you find on these queries, right? On these searches. These are the phrases that he asked Google to look for. 1122 King Road, Moscow, Idaho. 1122 King Road, Moscow, ID. 1122 King Road, King Girls with a Z at the end. Kaylee Gonsalves, Maddie Mogan, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Dylan Morrison, Bethany Funk, LM, whoever that is, because again, her name is blurred out. On November 26, 2022, at approximately 15:46, that's 3:46 p.m., the warrant was served via email to @google.com. On December 1st, 2022, I applied for and was granted a warrant to serve on Google for information on accounts searching the following search terms. So here he is asking Google for the terms that I just mentioned back in November 26, 2022. And then again, some other phrases, some other queries, Google queries on December 1st, 2022. And these were Moscow murders, murder in Moscow ID, murder in Moscow, Idaho crime, Moscow, Idaho stabbing, University of Idaho murders, University of Idaho stabbing. King Road murder, King Road stabbing, King Road stab, Moscow ID news, Moscow ID, Idaho news, Moscow news, Idaho, Pullman news, Northern Idaho news, North Idaho news, campus stabbing, campus unalivings, DNA on knife, getting red fluid out of clothing, how to get red fluid out of clothing, getting red fluid out of a vehicle, how to get red fluid out of a vehicle. So these are terms that the detectives, Moscow PD said we should look into because this could make somebody look suspicious, or it could point to somebody who was Googling things that they shouldn't have. And this is where we run into problems, because if you are Googling anything, and if you are into true crime, if you are into psychology, if you're into what we do here and in several other true crime channels, you have probably murdered something quite similar. If you were in the vicinity of the crime, if you are a local wanting to find out about the crime, you immediately popped up on these searches asked for by Officer MOWERY to Google, right? And Google hands over a list. So this was a warrant that was searched. Thank you so much for the $10, Chrissy Atkins. This case is enraging. I'm so glad I came across your channel. Keep up the hard work. And then it disappeared. Boom. Thank you. I appreciate it. That's a lot of money in this economy. I appreciate it. It's a lot of money to give to someone, right? Thank you. Now, this warrant, MOWERY says, was done in an attempt to locate a suspect, possibly searching for the victims prior to the crime, potentially gaining information on the persons, their residence, or lifestyles, which could be located on social media. The searches were done in an attempt to locate a suspect, possibly searching for information on the crime before the discovery of the victims. And they were looking at the times they were looking at was November 13, 2022 at noon to November 13, 2022 at 8 p.m. So I'm confused because this time frame that they're asking for isn't going to give police insight into somebody who knew about the crime prior to the crime. They're looking for after the crime, right? Allegedly, they're saying the crime took place at 3, 4 in the morning. So why are you looking at noon to 8 p.m.? We know that the news had already gotten out. We know that Dylan and the roommates had already texted people. We know that they had contacted their family members as well. So people already knew. By noon, people already knew. So it's weird that they asked for that, because if you're asking for people searching this prior to the crime, then why would you be asking for that time frame after the crime was committed? See, it doesn't make sense, right? Now, it says, I was contacted by Google regarding the warrants and informed that the searches were extremely complicated and the large date range was problematic. Stay tuned. I know it's a little boring, but stay tuned. Pay close attention, guys. This is how they got Bryan Kohberger. This is how they got to Bryan Kohberger, I believe, right? This makes me sick to my stomach. I was contacted by Google, said the searches were extremely complicated and the large date range was problematic to their search queries. They stated they had to restart the process several times due to complexity of the searches. So they asked Google, okay, let us know who Googled weird stuff and maybe it'll give us a suspect. On December 19, 2022, Bryan Kohberger was identified as a possible suspect. On December 19, 2022, Bryan Kohberger was identified as a possible suspect. This is listed on document 153 with the warrant that was served to Google. Do you know what that means? If you're not putting 2 and 2 together, you need to. Do you know what that means? Do you know what that means? That means that they asked Google, let us know who Googled weird shit after the crime on November 13th from noon to 8. By the way, noon to 8, that was after the crime. The cops had already showed up to 1122 King Road. Who do you think is going to be Googling that weird shit? Who do you think is going to be murdering Pullman News? Who do you think is going to be Googling campus stabbing? Who do you think is going to be Googling Northern Idaho news? Probably a lot of people, right? Probably a lot of locals. Probably. Do you guys hear me? There was a phone call and I closed it. Do you guys know what I'm taking away from this document? Do you know what I'm hinting at? I'm hinting at that there were so many people, not only hinting, this is per the document, so many people that had searched all of these things: King Road murder, King Road stabbing, King Road stab. Google said, yeah, this is extremely complicated, extremely large date range, extremely problematic to their search queries because there were so many people that were looking that up. And then from there, they magically pinned it on Brian Koberger, a PhD criminology student. Oh my God, it's so weird that everybody and their mama was Googling this shit. That everybody and their mama in that vicinity was Googling those phrases. Not weird. Google was saying everybody was Googling it. It was too large of a query. And then somehow magically, from December 1st to December 19th, Google said, well, here's a list of people that were Googling a lot of these things. And then the cops basically went, that one. Do you understand how problematic that is? That means, let me make it simple here. That means that any of us that could have potentially lived near 1122 King Road, and maybe we're criminology students, maybe we're YouTubers, and we like to look up true crime. And we lived near 1122 King Road where the crime took place, and we Google that shit. Then Google hands over the list of people that Googled these things, a long list. They said it was a very large, problematic query. It was extremely complicated. And then the cops just picked a fucking name out of the blue. Do you understand how problematic that is? That means it could be me, it could be you in the same situation. And I know I have ADD, I have high IQ, I have a weird way of expressing myself. So please let me know if I made myself clear. I don't know how else to explain it. Maybe I'll find a different way to word it. But do you understand what we're saying here? We're saying that according to supplemental narrative 153, that is exactly how they got to Brian Koberger, through a fucking Google search. And why is that a problem? Because I know there's some idiots that are going to be like, well, they shouldn't be Googling that. I'm sorry. But again, if you look at the searches, it's nothing crazy. It's campus murders. It's North Idaho news. It's Pullman news. It's Moscow news. It's King Road murder. Normal shit that the locals would be looking at. That is scary. Do you understand? Am I making myself clear? I feel like I'm not making myself clear. Do you guys understand how fucked up this is? That this is exactly how they came to Brian Koberger, through fucking Google? Through nothing incriminating, through a Google search. I'm sorry, but you guys also know that I do YouTube on the side for fun, for true crime. Do you know what my Google searches look like? And before that, when I was getting my master's in psychology, taking a lot of classes in criminal psychology, do you know what my Google searches look like? Yeah, there's some weird Google searches. Of course there is. And the fact that cops could just go over to Google and say, give me a list of all the weird searches and all the people who have done the searches. And then they can come back to me and say, Nika, you want to lie with the neighbor or wherever, whoever. It must have been you because you have some fucking weird Google searches. Do you understand? It's fucking crazy. That's scary. That is very scary. This is how they got to Bryan Kohberger, in my opinion. And according to supplemental narrative 153. And we're going to talk about supplemental narrative 155. Because there is mention of Jack Decor. Let me pull it up here. Supplemental narrative 155. Typed up by our favorite detective, Detective Payne. Let's talk about Jack Decor, shall we? On or about February 13, 2023, that's 3 months after the crime. That was after they already had Kohberger in their sights. MPD received a package from the Coeur d'Alene Police Department. The package contained 2 items for Detective Mowry. I provided these items to Detective Mowry on February 14, 2023, without opening the packages. I thought they were digital items. On February 23, 2023, Mowry brought the 2 items into my office and told me they were not digital items. So it sat on your desk for 10 days. Okay. Bad cop, Mowry. You would think that if they're trying to investigate a quadruple homicide, that they're going to be on it, right? They're going to be on it as far as keeping tabs on any evidence that is being received. But here it's like, okay, we have Brett Payne waiting a whole day to give the package to Detective Mowry. And then we have Mowry 10 days later bringing back the package to Payne saying, yeah, these are not digital. So you sat on fucking evidence for 10 days. Botched investigation, botched. The 2 evidence items were swabs from Jack Decor. You sat on swabs from Jack Decor's phone for 10 days? This is not typical protocol for evidence, by the way. You know, as far as evidence goes, there is usually a chain of custody, and it has to be, everything has to be written down. Who turned over what time, to the second. Everything has to be annotated. But no, not Mowry and not Payne, right? They're sitting on important DNA swabs from Jack Decor for 10 days. The 2 evidence items were swabs from Jack Decor's phone and the paper used while taking the swabs. The swabs were taken before the phone was forensically downloaded. So when were these swabs taken? Because when we are reading this document, it's looking like you swabbed Jack Decor around February. And if you swabbed Jack Decor around February, then that means that you maybe still had some doubts about Bryan Kohberger being the guy. Because at this time, just 2 documents before 153, you only had Google searches that Bryan Kohberger had done, along with apparently a shit ton of other people. So when were these swabs taken? Because again, if they were taken in February 2023, 3 months after the crime, you were already eyeballing Kohberger, but here you are still swabbing Jack D. Why were you still swabbing Jack D? Is it because you still had your doubts? And let's maybe assume something else. Let's assume that they fucked up the dates like they fucked up everything else, right? Let's assume, well, they fucked up the dates. There's so many fucking typos here. They can't even spell February, right? even if you had swabbed Jack DeCour back in November, why isn't it mentioned in the fucking document? Why isn't it mentioned in the document when you actually swabbed Jack DeCour? And also, even if you had swabbed Jack DeCour back in November, which again, it looks like you didn't. It looks like you swabbed him in February. But even if you swabbed him back in November, then in a normal investigation with average IQ like cops, police officers, what is typically done is that the swabs are taken and then they are booked into evidence immediately. And everything is documented immediately. You're not going to wait 3 fucking months to book this into evidence. And that is looking like that is exactly what they did, right? It says the swabs were taken before the phone was forensically downloaded. None of the seals on either of the items were broken. So I booked the packages into MPD evidence on February 24th, 2023. You booked the evidence 3 months later. After it sat 10 days on MOWERY's desk on a quadruple homicide investigation that has gone global. If I were a parent, and I'm not a parent of these victims, but I'm putting myself in the shoes of the parents of the victims, I am fucking livid to know that you sat on a potential suspect swabs for this long and that it took you months to book it into evidence. How do we know if it has been tampered with? How do we know if anybody could have tampered it with the swabs from Jack DeCour? Because again, they were sitting on MOWERY's desk for close to 2 weeks. How do we know that the swabs were even still good? And I think this is why every time Ann Taylor is seen questioning MOWERY and Brett Payne, all they can say, all that can come out of their mouth is, I don't remember. I don't remember. I don't know. I don't remember. And I'm also trying to give the benefit of the doubt to the cops. This is a small town police department. These cops don't know what the hell they're doing. They have minimal training. Detective Payne has never done something like this before. We all make mistakes. We are all human, even cops. But it is one thing to make mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. And then it's another one to make a shit ton of mistakes and not raise your hand and be a man, you know, of law that's supposed to uphold the law. You're supposed to uphold the law, Officer Payne, Officer MOWERY, and say, Judge Hibbler, Ann Taylor, I think we maybe fucked up a little bit. No. What did we see them do? We don't really know. It's like, I'm just the cop. I'm just the cop, babe. I don't really know, you know, I'm just the detective. Oh my God. As if this was some sort of fucking game. You know, these were 4 people that were with us on this planet that are no longer with us, and your jobs were to do things by the book, to follow protocols, to follow SOPs, you know, standard operating procedures that are in every fucking laboratory and every fucking police department. But you didn't do that. You sat on evidence for God knows how long. You didn't book the evidence into MPD until months later. And then now we're coming to find out that all you had on Bryan Kohberger and how he was identified as a possible suspect was because of some stupid ass Google search that we all searched that apparently Google handed over a long list of other names that had searched the same thing. Because I'm sorry, but if you're a student in the Moscow, in the Pullman area, who isn't going to be Googling Pullman news, Northern Idaho news, North Idaho news, King Road stab, campus stabbing? I'm pretty sure everybody and their mother, especially students within both universities, are going to be Googling those things. It's like 1 + 1 = 2, right? So, yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. It really disappoints me. It really disappoints me because, again, I have a family. We all have children. I'm wrinkling my forehead extra because some of y'all say I have Botox. If I had Botox, could I do this? I guess that's your way of calling me beautiful. But anyway, like, what the hell? This could happen to any of our children. Literally could happen to any of our children. This could happen to any of us. Even if you don't have kids, right? You do a dumb Google search and now what? I'm gonna tell everybody right now, try not to use Google, babe. That's my opinion. Because they store everything. And even if you're just doing it for YouTube, like I look up 4 dead girls in Moscow or whatever else, or I'm trying to figure out how whatever about true crime, it's not gonna be a good look for me, right? We know Google saves every search. This is not an ad, but I like to use DuckDuckGo. I don't know how safe they are. I personally believe that anything that you type in the internet, DNA is bullshit. That's why it's not allowed in military. You're like, I'm over here like, my voice is raspy. I'm breathing in all the, we have really bad air here. I'm breathing in all the bad Canadian fire oxygen. We have like an oxygen. I'll waste my voice for the voiceless, right? We have Brian Koberger still sitting in jail. Nothing pointing to this man. Every day he looks less guilty. Every day he looks less guilty. A fucking Google search? Are you kidding me? That's why nobody was ever answering Ann Taylor. But how did you get to my client? It was a tip. It was a tip from the FBI. Really? Because it's looking like it was a tip from Google. And again, it was a tip from the FBI. It's not looking like it. It's looking like it was something you just fucking picked from a Google list. That's what it's looking like. And that's why you never said that out loud, because it was going to make you, Bill Thompson, and the whole state look like an idiot, right? It's going to make you look like an idiot. And Bill Thompson has lied to us before, ladies and gentlemen, as has Chief Fry and Chief Lanier. They all lied to us, right? This was a targeted attack. No, it wasn't a targeted attack. Oh, it was a vehicle 2011, 2013. Oh, no, it wasn't. Now we're looking at the legal documents. Molly Meth is saying it was a tan sedan. I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed. Hello, Sleuthy Kitty. Hello, Sean Ray. By the way, I'm done with the video. I'm done. I'm done. Fucking done. For those of you who want to go away now, because now I'm just going to go through the chat. But if you guys were here for the video, make sure to vote in the comment section and in the chat in both places. If you think that this Google supplemental narrative 153 is weird as fuck, please leave a 1. And what do you think about these swabs? Let me know. The swabs from Jack D that were not booked into evidence until months after the crime. It's a little sus to me. It's a little sus to me, babe. Hello, Sean Ray, Sleepy Kitty Revolution. Hello. Hi, Monica. Welcome. Welcome to the live, Monica. Hello, Patty. Hi, Linda. Hello, Sean. Sid, Suds. Hello. Hey. Hi, Don. Hello, my pal, Sal. Vintage. Y'all are so sweet. Y'all are so sweet. I like nuggets. I just came up with it like the day that I went and make my first video. I was like, I just need to come up with a random name and just like push videos because this is bogus. Hello, Richard. AKW $5. Thank you so much. You guys are really spoiling me today. Wow, I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. It's a blessing to just come on here and talk to you guys and get your point of view, honestly, because nobody wants to listen to me fucking yap at work about this. They're like, oh my God, there's that spicy girl that's like cute but fucking weird. So like somebody actually told me that today. They're like, why can't you just like, just be pretty and like not talk? I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm here for the truth, bitch. And look at this document. They don't want to hear that at work, right? Hello, Vicky. Hello, Justin. And after they said Brian, they linked the sheath. Exactly. Exactly. We need to be very skeptical, right, Sean Ray? Exactly. Y'all are so sweet with each other in the chat. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Sorry, guys. I'm a little stuffy because of the Canadian fires. By the way, for those of you in Canada, how's it going over there? Hope the air is clearing up for y'all. Pixie Kitty, just on your channel, and I really appreciate your dedication to the truth. Thank you so much, because I've been 99% of the videos that I've made are about Bryan Kohberger and the IDAHO4, because you know us neuro-spicy people, we have like this, we're like obsessed with justice and patterns. We have, you know, better pattern recognition, and I recognize from the very early days that something is off about all of this. We're just here for the truth. That's all. We don't care who did it. We just want the right person in jail. Hello, Christy. Hello, Small Fries. I hope you're well. Also, hello, ALW. Hello, Sean Ray. Hello, Lucky Duck. Hello, Sid. Robert from Idaho. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Hi, Robert. Where in Idaho are you from? And please be honest with me. If you live like in a really small town, is it like Children of the Corn-esque? I've never been to Idaho. But I did live in Delphi, Indiana, and it was very Children of the Corn-esque. I will never go there again unless like I absolutely have to for whatever reason. Let's get to the bottom of this mess. Thank you again, Chrissy, for the super chat. Buy bottled water. Ooh. I don't drink water. I just drink coffee. I know. My kidneys are probably shrinking. When someone confesses to a crime, we should believe them. That's silly. That's a silly way to think about it, because, you know, I guess I shouldn't mock you. It's just that it is quite silly to assume that just because somebody confesses to a crime that we should believe them, right? Because when we look at statistics, and the math does not lie, most cases, 95% of cases in America end up pleading out, because our system is set up to plead out. We don't want to waste money and time on a trial. Like, that's not what we try to do in our country. Okay, most countries don't try to do that. And if you know anything about psychology, is that innocent people confess to a crime all the time, especially if Bryan Kohberger's lawyer was maybe saying, you have no fucking chance. There is a biased judge, biased everything, they're not releasing. She was still asking for documents that had yet not been released to her. It's like, if she senses that her client doesn't stand a chance, the ethical thing and lawful thing that a lawyer is supposed to do is to advise her client to confess and plead out, right? But again, a lot of people don't know that. it's very unfortunate. I wish more Americans, I wish we just had better schools, right? Not everybody went to a private school. Not everybody had that luxury. And we know that public schools don't teach this. You know, they teach you how to sit in a chair for 8 hours a day so that you can be a good worker in a factory or whatever, or in a cubicle. They don't teach you how to do your taxes. They don't teach you about brokerage accounts and investments. They don't teach you about criminal law. They don't teach you about how the justice system works. They don't teach you about constitutional rights. But they do teach you what? 7 years ago. How does that help me in the real world? It teaches all this bullshit. Like, I mean, sure, it's great to know history, whatever, but like, teach me shit that I can actually use in the real world so that people like Pearl, MOWERY are not confused as to, well, why do people confess to a crime? We should believe them. No, we have to take in psychological factors like, we know he's OCD. We know he's anxiety, which means he's prone to ruminating. Ruminating means you can't break a thought pattern. You're there in it, right? When you look at psychology of false confessions, it's massive. You know, how many people are pressured to give a false confession. So exactly. Thank you, Justin Bond. The Innocence Project. I'm still shocked by how many people have never heard of that. They don't know what that is. Pearl, please go Google the Innocence Project and let me know what you find, because I think you're going to be shocked, right? Sid, so many false confessions have happened in the past. Thank you. Yes. Hello, as one divided we fall. Didn't SG say someone outside of the IDAHO4 case was ran down and harmed too? I don't put a lot of attention into what SG has said, because he said a lot of things and he's contradicted himself a lot of times. And he's also a grieving father. So from a psychological point of view, it's like we can't really trust what he was saying. Somebody who's grieving can say a lot of things that don't make sense. Maybe they do, a lot don't. And the fact that he's contradicted himself time and time again, it's just like, let's just not go there. Small fries, just the damage done to each of these victims points to somebody who's close and familiar with these young adults, not a stranger who's spending lots of education to have a doctorate. By the way, let me know in the chat if any of you guys have PhDs or a master's. Okay, I had a master's and I was getting ready to get my PhD in psychology, but I didn't want to pay $250,000 for it. So I didn't go. But when I was getting my master's in psychology, I was still working a full-time job. And I had no time. I had no time for anything. You work, you then go home and do homework all day long, research, type up papers, go to the university, go to your classes, sleep, maybe you have time for dinner. Repeat. A PhD program, from what I've heard, is like 4 times as much work as a master's program. Do you think this man had time to like go stalk women? No. And we know Bill Thompson said he didn't. Bill Thompson said that, so. Hello, small fries. I hope you're feeling better. You're saying you had to stop your chemo. I hope you're feeling better. Christy says, Brian is innocent. I feel it to my core. Christy, I'm just curious. Are you neurodivergent? I love neurotypicals too, but I'm just curious. I have a feeling that are you? The reason I ask is because a lot of neurodivergent individuals, our brains are built, we're just different, and our brains pick up patterns before even we realize they're picking up patterns. Therefore, you feel like you know it in your core, but you know it in your core because your brain is picking up all of these subconscious patterns that don't make sense, right? So it's not like woo-woo, it's like science. Sean Ray, the university and cops wanted this case closed ASAP. Exactly, because every day that the case was not closed, it was negative press for the university. doesn't make the university look good when you have a potential unaliver out on the loose and students aren't going to want to go to school there, and they are not going to want to go to the bars or to the grub truck or to party or to the clubs because they're going to be afraid. So you need somebody in jail ASAP so that these people, these students, can go back to regular life and spending money, because if they don't spend this money, the entire town shuts down. Why? Because that's their main source of revenue. You need to close the case ASAP. Sean Ray says, I'm never Googling anything again. Like I said, Sean, I don't know, but I prefer to use DuckDuckGo when I remember to use it, because they supposedly don't say anything, but you just never know. I don't trust anything. And it's very unfortunate because it's like, I'm a scientist and I'm a true crimer. I want to Google certain things. I want to learn about DNA. I want to learn about forensics. But then I'm like, am I going to get Kohlbergered? Are they going to pin this shit on me when I'm just educating myself? So thank you guys for joining me in today's video. Please leave a like, leave a comment. Make sure to vote in the comment section if you think that this is odd, these documents regarding Jack Decor Swabs being booked into evidence until 3 months after the crime. Please leave a 1 in the comment and the chat. And if you think that it's odd that they picked Kohlberger because of some Google searches that, according to this document, a shit ton of other people had also Googled, please leave another 1. I don't know. Leave a 2. Just leave a 2 if you think it's normal. If you think all this shit is normal, leave a 2. All right, guys. Truth Seeker says, to me, you're not weird, you're normal. I understand you perfectly. Thank you. That's good to know, because sometimes I'm like double guessing myself. I'm like, do people understand what I'm saying? I know most of you guys are smart, but every now and then I have a person that I'm just like, I don't know, man. How do I dumb it down even more? Should I dumb it down even more? I don't want to. I don't want to, because most people on here are intelligent individuals. I feel like sometimes like dumbing it down is just gonna it's just gonna attract a different crowd, maybe a bigger crowd, maybe more subscribers, but it might be, how do I say this in a PC way? It might be a larger crowd, but not as capable mentally, you know, or emotionally. I would rather have less subscribers, but smart people, where I don't have to dumb everything down. I've had so many people ask me, well, what document are you reading off of? I'm like, I'm sorry, but like, if you're asking me that, baby boy, baby girl, this channel may not be for you, because it's literally in the title. You know, I can't. Ah, Wanda, I love it. Either way, guys, I gotta go. I actually have to start work at 4. Hence, I got dressed up for you. I was like, I just read, it's like, I'm just feeling it, you know? I'm feeling very passionate today, Red. But I don't think you guys know how much I love you. I know I don't know you guys in person, but I know we're like syncing. Our brains are syncing despite the distance. I think most of us here just think very similarly. But I literally, this is how much I like you guys. I literally changed my shirt just to give you guys something to look at, something different. Because the blue scrubs, bro, it gets old, right? Because look, I'm literally in scrubs because I have a job. So yeah. Mwah. Thank you guys for joining me. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.